Hi, and welcome back to Family Sociology. We're going to be looking at the next chapter. It's chapter 9. We're going to divide this into two parts as well. And what we're going to be looking at here is the lone parent family, and it's framed in your chapter. It's the future majority, and it's a question mark. Will it be? And what we're going to look at in this chapter is, what are the trends in lone parenting families? Is it all the same now as what we've always understood it to be in the past, or has it got a new view of it in today's world? We're also going to look at the various paths into single-parented families. And is it just a single only way, or is there multiple paths to get there now compared to maybe what it has in the past? And we'll also then begin to look at the place of single parenthood in the family cycle. Now, it has been in its place in the family cycle in the past, but what is that place in that cycle today? And what are the qualities of life of single parenthood families? Such as their economic, their social welfare, and that includes that of their children. And what's the implications of where you live in terms of society and economic strengths and or weaknesses, and the social strengths and weaknesses. And lastly, what we'll touch on is looking at the difference between the very young single mother and the single father, which is a newer single-parented family in more recent years. So let's get started with lone parent family, future majority, and let's get started.
So when we think of lone parent families, now the chart you're seeing here is looking at that number of families between 1991 and 2011, and there's been some trends in lone parent families. Mother or a father with no spouse or common law partner present, living in a dwelling with one or more children. So that's the definition. So it can be a mother or a father, but there's no other person there typically helping within that same dwelling. Now in 2001, 15.7 of all census families were single-parented families. By 2011, that went up to 16.3. 8 in 10 lone parent families were headed by a woman. Many families spend more time as one-parent families before, after, or between two-parent episodes. So when you look at those sort of numbers, you can sort of see an increase in single-parented families over time. And the question would be, will that trend continue? Now, when we think about some of the qualities of life in a single-parented family, we'll start with economic survival. Female lone parents are at risk of living in poverty. And unfortunately, that's a universal statistic. That's not to say that all women who are single-parented parenting are going to be in economic difficulty, or maybe more, however, the majority are. Working lone mothers experience a great deal of tension juggling work, family, daycare, and any other aspects of family life or individual life that exist. Many lone mothers are discouraged from working by a lack of available and affordable childcare, and that's been an ongoing concern for many years for many women. Some ways of getting off social assistance are through upgrading or completing one's education or by finding adequate jobs. And again, that's adding more balancing. And if you remember from the last week's video looking at the sunset years and the elderly, oftentimes it's grandparents that offer this big assist to help younger women or women in single-parented families to get that education by taking on some of the childcare responsibilities. Now in Canada, there's a national child benefit, and this is aimed at reducing child poverty, reducing the overlap in social assistance programs, and encouraging parents to find jobs. Now, the National Child Benefit that was initiated in place by the Liberals in the federal government before Harper has been changed during Harper's time and is now going through another change into the new Liberal federal government that's just been in place over the last 100 and some odd days. So the National Child Benefit will take another change. Now, there are more than one way or more than one path to single parenthood. Several reasons for an increase in the lone parenthood family: an increase in unmarried mothers, Children and marriage are regarded separately, an increase in the divorce rate. What it means in terms of children and marriage are regarded separately, it just really means that it's no longer the only way to have, you don't need to be married to have children. Of course, we know that, but it's happening at a greater rate than it has in the past. Becoming a lone parent may be the result of not marrying, may be a result of divorce, or may be the result of death of a spouse. Lone parenthood can end for various reasons. Now, you could get remarried, you could enter into cohabitation, you could have a change of custody. You may have had custody of children, you may give that custody to the former spouse, or you may start seeing your children get older and them having more independence as children. Now, many teen mothers marry or enter into common law relationships as young people. Divorced women with young children are least likely to enter into a union. As a group, widows are oldest when they become single parents and stay lone parents the longest. Now, teen pregnancies comes when young women are struggling with issues of independence from their own family of origin, and they're less likely to be able to make meaningful financial and social contributions to rearing their own children. And it becomes a very difficult time. Now, that rate of teen pregnancy is not going up. The rate of teen pregnancy has been going down. Now, in addition, another path, aside from divorce, death of a spouse, or not marrying, has been assisted reproduction technology, which allows some older women to have children without a partner. Often better able to support themselves, that is to say older women, because they already have a career often in place, or a job and income in place, and children, since they are more likely to have completed education and established careers. Now, the divorced and widowed must both deal with the pain and anger that surrounds the end of a marriage. And this can certainly affect the family as well as their own success. When we look at quality of life, as a group, lone parent families have the lowest average total incomes. In 2008, the average female lone parent family made $42,300, or about 70% of what a male lone parent family earned. Female lone parents are at risk of living in poverty. Working lone mothers experience a great deal of tension juggling work, family, daycare, where many lone mothers are discouraged from working and going back because of the child care issues and finding available and affordable child care. Some ways of getting off social assistance are through upgrading or completing one's education, finding an adequate job, and all these are struggles and difficulties for single moms with children. Now, if we carry on with the quality of life in single-parented families, we can look at things like housing. Housing is the single largest expense for most single mothers and may be very difficult to find. Depending upon which community you live in, whether you're urban or rural, single mothers are more likely than others to live in low-income areas for longer periods of time. Most cannot buy a house and tend to live in apartments, row housing, and co-op housing. For the benefit of children, space is important. Space for a play area, having proximity to schools, to the medical services, stores, and other needed services. Low-income areas are not always close or convenient to those sorts of things. Low-income housing areas, they struggle with privacy. There's often stigma attached to single mom and children. We can move into looking at the social life, and both lone fathers and lone mothers have higher rates of mood and substance abuse disorders than married couples. The majority of single parents report adequate contact with others, with the majority reporting being lonely. Social support significantly reduce the likelihood of these disorders. And social supports can come from friends, family, people in your immediate surroundings who can offer some support, whether that's helping with childcare, community kitchens. The more of the protective factor for lone fathers than for lone mothers. And the protective factor is really about, in a lot of cases, the men will be making a slightly, if not significantly better income, which helps protect them, or they may be able to afford a home. Now, the social support can be separated in two areas: how supportive society is as a whole, and the immediate resources or sources of emotional and practical help. So some of that is the social policies, that would be the society as a whole, and whatever stigma gets associated with being a single parent is often society as a whole. The immediate resources and support for emotional practical help would be the kind of help that people get from friends and the immediate surroundings. There has been an explosion of internet websites devoted to lone parents, whether they be blogs or websites and support to help get over the tough spots, how to, shop on a lower income. These sorts of resources are available. So now when we look at going into the next section, we'll look at are children in lone parent families at risk, and if so, for what? And we'll look at social school achievement, employment, family life, and personal adjustment. All right, so let's move on. Good luck, and so far, so good. Bye now.